5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Hey guys, what's up? Jake here on TasteTheRageTV, and I'm going to talk to y'all about infantry. Infantry on this game is so diverse and complicated, it's not even funny. The gap between experienced players and new players is so wide when you're talking about infantry. Not when you're talking about anything else, but when you're talking about infantry, the gap is wide. I laugh so hard when I see people using infantry the wrong way, when they put them in open ground and expect to rush against a tank and 1v1 it or a helicopter or some shit. I just think that's so funny. They're meant to be put in wooded areas, swamps, and cities, and anything with cover. That's what you're supposed to use them for. But I'm going to talk about cities because I think it represents a better example or illustration for what I'm talking about, what I'm trying to talk about. So, for example, if you look at the first weapon on the left, it is an infantry type rifle. An infantry rifle. The first weapon on the left. For example, the AK-74SU for the Spetsnaz, it is an SMG. SMGs and carbine-like weapons fall into the same category. Their base accuracy isn't very good, but it suffers less from movement. They are the best close quarters combat weapons. So when you're right next door, when you're in the city block right next door to Spetsnaz, they have an advantage over you if you have standard assault rifles or semi-assault rifles because they are the best type of weapons for close quarters combat. I'm going to talk about Spetsnaz for example here. I'm going to point these guys out. They are the purest representation for close quarters combat. I can't think of better units for close quarters combat than the Spetsnaz. Because they got the napalm, they've got the AK-74SU, it's an SMG, and they've got a close quarters combat LMG. I mean, if you're going up against Spetsnaz and they're right next door to you in a city block, then you need to bank your units up or outnumber them severely because they are the representation of close quarters combat. Be careful when you see them. Don't get near them because they will wipe right through you. Sapuers, however you pronounce it, these guys, for example, they have an SMG and napalm. Napalm is meant to kill infantry. That is its only purpose, is to kill infantry. Burn them out and rout them. That is its only purpose. It's extremely deadly. So if you've got napalm units, that's what they're meant for. They're meant for close quarters combat and wiping through infantry. Especially if they have an SMG, like the MAT-49. Be careful when you see napalm units. Back the fuck up. Okay, so Delta Force, for example, it has a Carbine M727 rifle. That's also in the same category as SMGs. Carbine-like weapons and SMGs fall into the same exact category. The Spetsnaz and the Delta Force are special forces, if you didn't know that. So, for example, the other type of infantry weapon, like a World War II or post-World War II rifles, like the Monster is seen here, are very accurate at long range when stationary, but absolutely useless while moving or in close quarters combat. Other examples of a World War II or post-World War II rifle are the MAS-49 or 56 and a Mosser. Those are the only ones that I know for certain. If you don't know what your weapon is, just go to Google and type it in. And just go to Wikipedia or something. It should tell you what type of gun it is. And, I mean, just guess. Look up your gun when you're using it. Because it doesn't offer the stats. The M16 falls into the category of standard assault rifles. Standard assault rifles are average weapons. They're average, and more average. Like, yeah. Standard assault rifles have average accuracies both on the move and stationary. They are average at close quarters combat, quite reliable. They're never the best, but they're never the worst at the same time. The 7.62mm ones have higher suppressive power but less accuracy. than the 556 millimeters. So I'm gonna say again, the 762 millimeters have higher suppressive power but less accuracy. The 556 millimeters have higher accuracy but less suppressive power. Semi-auto rifles are, like, for example, 2/3 of NATO use semi-auto rifles. For example, the G3 or the FAL. Like I said earlier, you just gotta research your weapon that you're gonna be using and just Wikipedia it, Google it, do what you need to do, know what it is, do your research. Semi-auto rifles are very accurate when stationary, but quite not on the move. They are also not the best rifles to have close quarters combat. They're not as bad as World War II or post World War II rifles, but they're still not recommended for close quarters combat. So, recapping this information, World War II or post World War II rifles have the best accuracy when stationary. Over all other rifles, they have the best accuracy when stationary, but they are the worst units to have in close quarters combat or moving. SMGs are the best units to have in close quarters combat, but they have the worst accuracy over all others. But their accuracy does suffer less than any other unit when they're on the move. So all in all, infantry is the best way to hold areas with cover like a city or forested areas or anything like swamp, anything with a cover, anything with a cover. They are extremely deadly. Any vehicle that comes into contact with them in a forested area gets annihilated because I mean vehicles just they suck in cities. I mean when they're going down the street in a city, they're just gonna get wiped because they can't fight back, and I mean they can't see their opponent. All the infantry is in cover. All the infantry are hiding behind walls. They're hiding in buildings, and they pop out every now and then to shoot an RPG or shoot their rifles. It's impossible for tanks to clear out a city with infantry. So that's the best way to hold a city is just fill it up with infantry. Thanks for watching, guys.